I'm really excited to welcome today the very beautiful Naomi Sirio. And Naomi is a trauma specialist who works in Terrigal, New South Wales. And she is, her background is a Gestalt and somatic psychotherapist. And she works in a way which includes spirit and healing. So it's, I guess, a very holistic way of working with issues, which is brilliant. That's what I love as well. And so welcome, Naomi. It's wonderful to have you here. Perhaps if you just tell us a little bit of your background and what brought you to this work.
Yeah, thanks, Medyhne. So as you already mentioned, so my background is in psychotherapy. And I've been doing that for a long time. I've been working in the area of trauma in particular for about 15 years. I think, when I think about what brought me into this line of work, it was probably at a point in time where I was searching for something. And there are whole lots of reasons as to why that was, lots of things happening in my life at that time. And so that's how I ended up on the path that I did. And it's very holistic. It's not your mainstream kind of way of therapy, counselling, psychology that a lot of people take. But it certainly worked for me, and it felt like the right thing for me when I chose this path. And it's certainly been, it's interesting, when I look back and I think about all the little decisions or all the little crossroads that I came to and how I've ended up being where I am. And I think about a quote that's often quoted of Joan of Arc. So I imagine it was Joan of Arc's quote originally, but something along the lines of, I am not afraid, I was born to do this. And so I kind of feel like if I reflect on my life, there are lots of different points that have led me in this direction. So I feel really grateful for that.
Fantastic. And so how does your work, how do you work with this in a holistic way? So can you give us a bit of an example of how your work actually works? Because people know, I guess, more mainstream ways, but I'd love to hear a bit more about that.
Yeah. So I am a trauma therapist. So I guess I can fit to a certain degree in mainstream. So I have up until this point, I don't know if that might change this year when my regulatory body registration's up for renewal. That might change. But at the moment, I'm registered and insured, so I can, across the board, see a whole range of people. Yeah. And for some people, that's really important that I have that insurance and registration. It makes me more credible, I think, in some ways, in the systems that we work in. But outside of that, a lot of the clients that I have, and they just are drawn to me because obviously we're that type of fit for each other, is that over, 15 years, I've adapted the way that I work with my clients to incorporate how trauma is stored. Not only do we have trauma memory, some memory recall, but it's stored in our body. It's really is stored in the fibers of our being. And not only that, spiritually and energetically, it's stored throughout lifetimes, and it's also stored collectively throughout generations. So some of the modalities, I guess, that I use depending on the client, is some body work. So energetically shifting trauma and energy out of the body. Often when I am in that energy field with my clients, I get some downloads as well. So there might be images, there might be messages and things like that come through. I'm quite a visual person. So generally it tends to be lots of visual things. For some clients, we might do some elements of, card readings as well, if that's something that they find is helpful. So whole range of different things, but really trying to encourage clients to connect with particularly, well, always, but it's been particularly important right now over the last couple of years, is to really start to trust their intuition and their judgment, and to disconnect from a lot of the messaging that has got us to the place where we currently are. And some of that messaging has come from parents, if there was child abuse, for instance, institutions, a whole range of different things with the clients that I work with.
So if someone is holding like cellular trauma in their actual physical body, how do they tap into that? Like, apart from obviously, seeing you, which is an option, but how do people tap into that? I also, work with clients in this way too, but how do you tell them to tap into that sort of cellular trauma in the body? Because often it's indicated by somewhere where there's pain, or you've got a physical issue or an energetic block. How do you get them to do that?
It's really a lot simpler than we think, and because our body is trying to get our attention, and is trying to tell us on some level or another. So as you said, Medyhne, there might be pain. There could be recurring injuries that, we might have a vulnerable place in our body where we tend to always hurt ourselves or get injured or pull muscles or strain or something like that. And so I guess as far as theory goes, some of the somatic psychotherapy theory looks at tracking. And so what I encourage my clients to do, either when they're with me or even when they're not with me, when they're, they feel safe to be able to do this themselves, is to notice the pain, bring their attention to the pain. Our hands are really healing. So I encourage my clients to bring their hands to the area of the pain. And tracking really is about tapping into that pain, breathing into that pain. Some people will have elements of some kind of memory that will come up. Other people won't. And really, that's not the point. We don't have to understand what the pain's trying to tell us. But by tapping into it with our hands and just breathing, and often even some soothing, compassionate words to self that it's okay, I'm here, I know you're trying to get my attention, I'm paying attention. And then what often happens is it shifts. Yes. And so we track it. Where is it now? And then it might move to the heart. So then we stay with that sensation and we do the same process. So it's really about journeying with what our body is trying to tell us in a really compassionate way. And it tells us a lot, a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah, it has its own intelligence, doesn't it?
And
it's really trying to communicate with us, but we often don't realize that it's trying to open these channels of communication and really get our attention. And if it gets to a point where there's actually an injury or a physical issue like pain or something, it's gone through the astral, etheric, and all the different bodies to get to that physical. So it's really trying to shout at you by that stage to get your attention. Are you noticing that with trauma at the moment, that you're getting clients who are experiencing trauma, even just through what we've all collectively been through in these last 2 years? And how do you encourage people to deal with that kind of trauma as well?
So I would say that that's a collective. So tapping into a collective trauma, which we're all part of the collective. So I will experience that in my own unique way. But I think one thing that's helpful for a lot of people is to understand that some of it is yours, but it's not all yours. And as strange as it might seem, that's actually really helpful, because when I am, like, even myself, if I'm not having a good day, then there's a part of me that wants to understand why I'm not having a good day. That's natural. As human beings, we often do that. And so what I've learned over time is to let that go, to not have to understand why it is that I'm not feeling good today. My energy's not great. And acknowledging that my energy's not great and I don't need to know why. So if I can understand that some of the why might be because it's not mine, it's something that I'm tapping into collectively, then I can give up that quest to try to understand why it is. What have I done wrong? I thought I was doing so well and now I'm not doing so well. So when we let that go, we let go of a lot of the struggle, which can be really helpful.
I find for me, I'm very curious and I always want to have information. Why? For example, like when, the twin towers, I don't know if I can say that incident happened. I remember feeling really crappy just before that. And then when that happened, I thought, oh, that's why I feel like this, but we want information all the time about, why, because we think that that's going to help. But like you say, you don't always necessarily have to have that information in order to solve the issue and to find a solution. So I think that's very empowering for people to know that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got, there was a woman that I worked with, this is quite a while ago, and she came to me, she was a woman older than me, so I won't give away too many details just because of privacy and all that kind of stuff. But she came to see me, and she had probably 20 or more years worth of counselling prior to coming to see me, worth of therapy, and it was really helpful. And she'd had a lot of child abuse. Much of it she couldn't recall, but there were elements of it that she did recall. And I think this was my first major exploration of the more institutional type.
Yes.
You know, without saying too many other words, that type of abuse.
3 letters, SR, we won't say the last, yeah.
Yes, that type of abuse. And at the time, because this was probably, it was over a decade ago,
yeah.
It almost started to open my eyes, really, to the potential, because I knew of the potential within families and isolated incidents around abuse, particularly of children. But anyhow, so she came to me, and she'd done a lot of work, didn't have a lot of memory recall, but felt like she'd really largely gone through most of what she needed to as far as processing her trauma. Yeah. But she came to me because she had been, just prior to her contacting me, she'd been in a doctor's surgery, and there was a trigger for her in that doctor's surgery. She heard someone scream in another room, and her body was triggered. And what happened was she lost sensation in part of her body.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, bodies are so fascinating like that, aren't they?
Yeah. So it started to shut down. And so she had some trembling in one of the legs, but almost like what you would say, like a frozen shoulder, something like that, people would say, but her arm stopped moving.
That shaking too is a sign of, shock or trauma as well. When the body's shaking, it's trying to release. Like an animal does that when it's just been in.
That's right. Yeah.
Chased or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And Peter Levine's done a lot of work on that, how we have that capacity in our bodies to release trauma in that way. Yeah. But when she came to see me, we did some work around helping her to understand what her body was trying to tell her. But her biggest fear, and I think the fear that also added to the sensation in her body, was that there were memories that she hadn't recalled that wanted to come to the surface, and she didn't want to go back there.
Sure. Well, that's understandable. So how do you deal with that if there's something blocking you because it's perhaps too confronting to face that information? How are you able to transmute that? And I know I have ways that I do that, but I'm fascinated to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah. So again, when we look at trauma, her body was really trying to explain to her in the safest way.
Yes.
There are elements here that this trigger needs to be processed with, and so she didn't need to have a correlating memory.
Yeah.
So what we did was we worked through the body, and we through meditation, through some energy work as well. She started to explore those parts of her body and have a different relationship, because when that kind of thing happens in our body, and I know myself as well, if I have pain in my body, there's a part of me that wants to reject my body. I'm unhappy that it's responding in that way. Yeah. And so we need to work through that. And so we did a bit of work, I guess, processing what her body was doing and loving her body anyway. And when you do that and you start to have a different association or a different relationship to the pain and that part of your body that's holding the pain, things start to shift. And so we worked together for a number of years, couple of years actually, because of the level of, I'll say, dissociation she had to those parts of her body. But she didn't have any memory recall throughout that process. And it's actually, if we think about, some of the specialists and experts in complex trauma and how that manifests in the body, a lot of the theory says that it's actually safer for us not to have memory recall. And as a practitioner, I will never take someone down that path where they have to have memory recall or start to associate with memories, because it's often re-traumatizing in itself and unnecessary.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. So also when you're working in like a sacred spiritual space too, you'll get higher guidance, I guess, to about what areas are able to be tapped into and what aren't as well. Yeah. So that's really interesting that she was able to sort of work through that, through her body telling her that, because I mean the body's just the messenger, and it's also our best friend. And I think when we recognize that our body is our greatest ally through our incarnation, this vehicle, through this incarnation is what's getting us through. I think you think about your body in different ways. You know, we're so programmed to think about the physical body, especially females, in very superficial ways. And when you recognize everything that your body's doing to help you and assist you through this incarnation, it just really makes you want to honor and acknowledge and recognize and respect this amazing vehicle that we have. And you know, even things like touching your body and saying, I love you, I honor you, I appreciate you, all that sort of stuff, so important. Yeah,
it is because and even when we think about what our body has the capacity to hold for us just in this lifetime, is a lifetime of memory, a lifetime of experience and memory, joy, pain. So it really is our container for all of that. And we often don't respect that of ourselves.
No, that's true. That's true. So how are the levels that you're finding for what people are experiencing these last 2 years? Has it been a very high level of trauma that you've found in clients, and how have you encouraged clients to navigate these last couple of years with all the L downs, I can't say the word, and everything, all the regulations and everything that we're seeing unfolding? How do you sort of coach and guide your clients through this time?
It's interesting because it's been quite challenging, I have to say. I mean, the work that I do is really beautiful in many ways, and it has its challenges as well. You know, I need to make sure that I really, you know, self-care is important for me, cleansing and, you know, smudging and my intention and all of that kind of stuff. So all of that's really important. But I have to say that I've been brought to my knees more times in the last 2 years than I ever have in the work that I do. And part of that is just the I guess the sheer magnitude of the pain that people are tapping into, either their own or the collective.
And I think that's, you know, we are going through this transition process so that we can be able to bring up all our karma, all our unacknowledged soul wounding, so that we can transmute it in this process of ascending both ourselves and the planet. You know, so the high levels of shadow stuff and things that were hidden that we could perhaps suppress before, but we can't do that any longer. It's like they're being forced up through this process. I mean, even the process of being in the L down, where you're at home and you can't go out and you can't engage with others, and you're sort of are forced to look at yourself on the deepest level and to face things. And I think also with the energy shift in the frequency of the planet of Mother Earth as we ascend, it's just pushing all this stuff up to the surface now. So I hear what you say. It's like in huge amounts, people are just being faced to really address things that before they were able to just bypass.
Yeah, it's you know, clients that I've worked with on and off. The thing about my work is I will have clients that come to see me for short periods of time, but often the clients that I have are more therapeutic, which means they tend to see me over a longer period of time. Not, you know, they might have breaks, months of breaks, but so if I reflect on clients over the last couple of years, that the amount that has come bubbled to the surface for them, where they've been able to kind of keep a lid on it.
Yes.
You know, they can't keep the lid on it anymore. So it's and you know, I have clients with varying degrees of views and beliefs on what's happening, and that's less important to me in my work. You know, personally, it's a little bit different, but in my work, I will hold space for anybody, and very respectfully. And the intention is always with compassion and a reconnection to the love that they have for themselves, regardless of what choices they make. And you know what I find, I feel, and again, this goes back to, you know, that I've prepared myself for this my whole lifetime, and not in any kind of martyrdom way, but just like, I think to myself, that decision I made that was so challenging back then, if I hadn't made that decision and grieved and had all of that pain, I would not find myself in the position that I'm currently in, which is
absolutely
just fascinating.
And I really resonate with that. You know, as women who are, for myself, I think I'm older than you, but, you know, having gone through a lot of experiences and having, you know, a lifetime on the planet, in a sense, you know, everything that was a challenge or difficult has prepared me to really activate my divine soul mission now and really step into my higher purpose. And I'm actually really excited because we're about to launch a new project where we're going to be helping people activate their divine soul mission. So if anyone out there's wanting to do that, contact me, because we've got this great platform we're setting up. But, you know, everything's prepared me for this moment to help do that now. And I wouldn't have the skills and the gifts and the knowledge and the experience unless I've been through the really, really challenging things, such as losing, you know, a baby when she was due to be born, and, you know, all those sorts of things that are life-defining moments that you have to either really tap into your deepest strength, or you can just be floored by the whole thing.
Yeah, or both.
Yeah, at the same time. Exactly, which is always an option. So, yeah, I mean, I really actually am thankful to be at the age I am now, with the experience I have now, to know the things that I know. It would have been much harder to be a younger version of who I am now, and going through everything that the earth is going through at the moment, you know, this whole transition process. It's really equipped me with skills to be able to, you know, be able to get informed about what's going on, but try to strive to stay in a level of spiritual non-attachment, which means you can still be unconditionally loving, but you're not attaching to things all the time, because there's so much information out there. And, you know, also things like being able to stay centered in the midst of everything that's going on, and grounded, and have your own firm foundation that helps you navigate through this experience. What would you say in terms of building your own strong foundation? How do you do that to get through these times? What would you recommend?
Probably the first thing I would say is to disconnect as much as you can from external stimuli. But I don't mean nature. I mean, you know, messaging, external messaging, like, you know, media and all of that kind of stuff. That thing, yeah. So that's a given. We need to do that because it's a distraction from our true self. And so that's, you know, that's really important. I mean, I have a phone. We communicate with each other via our phone, and we have this computer and internet platform. So I'm not denying that that's helpful, but certainly that would be the first thing, disconnect from that.
And that's all part of being an organic human and not going down the AI path, which is what's being pushed as well.
Yeah, I think about, like, when a couple of years ago I was in Melbourne. I was running some training in Melbourne, and this was at the time when everything started to, you know, hit the fan. And I remember being there, and I was due to come home Friday evening, and it was all ramping up, and my children were back here and they were concerned. And I'll never forget, my sister phoned me, and I have a really close connection to my sister, but she's quite different to me. And she rang me and she goes, you know, this thing is real. You know, this thing is really happening. I know you don't want to believe that it's happening. And I said to her, you know what? I'm okay. Yeah, I'm going to be fine. I'm not denying that there's stuff happening out there, but I'm trusting what's happening for me, and I'm okay, and it's going to be okay. So I think that the difference is that you can get caught up in that, right? And it does send me in, you know, if I get caught up in that, I'll be in a tiz in no time. But I choose not to. I chose a long time ago not to do that. And so I dropped back into Well, what is this? What's the fear? Is there fear? What is that? Is it valid? How can I just breathe through and reconnect to? And I guess for me, it might be easier than for others because I have evidence of how I've never been guided in the wrong direction. I have evidence of that. So I really trust it. I trust it wholeheartedly. I've been challenged to the nth degree over the last 2 years, but I trust it. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Are you talking about like your angelic team, your spirit guides, or anything specific there? Or?
Well, I have beautiful synchronicities that happen, where something will pop into my mind and then it will be right there in front of me in one way or another. A song might, play itself, or, someone will mention something. It happens to me all the time and I don't dismiss it. Yeah. So
and it's amping up, isn't it? It's happening more and more and quicker. And it's sort of like you think a thought and then boom, it's in there. It's in the physical. It's just such an instantaneous co-creation now.
No, it's beautiful. And I often just find myself just laughing, just thinking, of course that's happening. Of course. I know that that's going to happen.
Yes. Well, when you think you're the co-creator of everything that happens to you, that you want to co-create the best version of your reality that you can. So being mindful of the thoughts. And on that note of being mindful of the thoughts, how do you train your mind to think in a way that serves your soul or serves your heart, as opposed to just randomly thinking thoughts that don't necessarily benefit you?
There's a couple of things that I do, that I practice. And one of them is that, again, using my guidance. So whether that's my body, my gut, my energy on the external part of my skin, like, goosebumps, things like that. If a thought process doesn't create harmony here, then I choose a different thought. So that's the first thing.
Yep.
Because it's really important how we feel, and that's it's important that we feel,
and it's a choice, isn't it?
It is absolutely. Not always easy to do. I'm going to profess that it's not always easy to do, but I eventually get there because I'm determined to get there.
And you feel better when you get there. You just feel better.
Absolutely. So that's one thing I do. The other thing I do is I tend to process a lot of my thoughts in writing. So I journal a lot.
Yes.
Because it gets it outside and onto paper. So I feel like I can park it. So I can kind of not pretend it's not there, just kind of put it to the side and park it, which is really, really helpful as well.
Fantastic. Are you thinking of writing a book or using any of your notes for?
I have written a book, but I'm just working with someone who's helping me with the manuscript. So I'm actually in the process of going through the manuscript, and the book really comes from like the last 15 years of work that I've done internally. So I've done a lot of healing myself and been through a lot of different processes, but how that parallels with the work that I do with clients, because we're in this parallel process.
Totally. Yeah.
And so, that's what my book's about. So it's funny you asked that. I don't know when.
Not psychic for nothing.
I don't know when we'll have it ready, but I'm hoping it won't be too long. Yeah, it's been quite a process.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, it absolutely is. I've got some books on my site, and huge. Absolutely huge.
Yeah, it's my first.
And energetically holding the space for a book as well, and knowing that that once you've written a book, even if only one other person reads it, there's actually a hall in the Temple of Records where every single book that's written goes into and is recorded.
Yeah.
Whether only one person reads, or even if you just read it, it's still up there in isn't that beautiful to know?
It is. It's beautiful. And I think it reminds me of, I don't have a very big presence, like a very big online presence, but what I do have is, some social media pages, and almost every day for the last probably 7 or 8 years, I put a post, just a visual with some imagery and words. And my intention has always been to send that energy into the world. And it doesn't matter if one person looks at it or no one looks at it. It's still, for me, my intention is about putting that out there, because what I'm trying to do is balance the negativity.
Oh, fantastic idea. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so I do, and that's my version of a book in a way. No one even needs to know that I'm doing it, but I do it, and it's the intention is just to try to create that balance because
Beautiful.
we need that.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I've got a book actually called Soul, Spirituality, Oneness, Unity, Love, and it's got affirmations with stunning photos that are very, very uplifting. Same actual purpose or motivation to try and raise the frequency and help people to think in ways that really serve them, as opposed to tapping into all the fear-based, particularly the mainstream stuff that we see out there at the minute, which is there to keep us in those disempowered ways of being.
Yeah, definitely
controlled, basically. But we're breaking out of that, and we're doing a good job collectively. But I just think that we need to all practice very, very strongly now this ability to stand in our empowerment and to speak our truth and express our authentic self, express our sovereignty now. And I'm seeing with clients, both individually and obviously around the world, that we're all being tested to do this. And so every person might, when they think about their life, think about ways that they're being encouraged to do this. So how do you encourage people to really fully embrace their own sovereignty, liberate themselves from perhaps a system that it doesn't serve us, and create a new system? What words of wisdom can you give for that?
I think, again, if I just reflect on my own process, I need to be really clear on what's important to me. And so what my values are, what my a gift to my children and myself and the people around me, and the legacy, I guess. I don't know if I really like that word because it's a bit loaded, but
maybe a footprint. I like that.
Much nicer. Yes. What footprint do I want to leave? Yeah. And what's important. And I have had, and again, if I go back through life, that if I think about one particular point where I left my 25-year relationship with 4 young children, for many different reasons, but really was faced with that choice of, do I stay in the comfort zone?
Yeah,
which was comfort to a degree financially. It wasn't comfort in lots of other ways. Or, and for me, if I think about the archetype of the prostitute, then do I want to continue to do that? Sell my soul to stay in comfort.
That's right.
And it was.
Oh, well, I was going to say that, it's all about soul evolution now, isn't it? This
Yes.
process, and everything else pales to me in comparison to that. And sometimes that choice to have soul evolution means you have to leave people behind. You have to leave relationships behind. And you know that you won't be able to sustain that any further if you choose to make these choices to really grow and evolve and that letting go process.
Absolutely. And it was hard and scary. And, I look back now and I think, thank goodness. But I think that really attributed to where I am now, where I know what's important to me. And, whilst I do need financial support to a degree to be able to, put a roof over my head and provide food for myself and my family. Outside of that, any money beyond that does not make me happy, just doesn't for me. Yeah. And so I think for me to be able to be really clear on what's important, I make my decision from that place. And if it goes against what's important to me, or I feel like, that feels like coercion to me, or that feels like I'm having my choice taken away, or that just doesn't feel right. I don't feel like I'm informed enough to be able to make a choice that sits okay with me. I just won't do it.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that having that clarity is a great gift as well, because sometimes people are so absorbed in the society and the culture and everyone else around themselves, they don't even have the clarity to know what it is that is important to them. Or what it is that they value, or what it is that brings them joy, because they're living potentially through other people, or just disassociated from who they truly are on that sort of really deep soul level.
Yeah. And look, again, I always feel like I need to put this caveat on everything that I say, because I'm not for one moment implying it's easy.
Oh gosh, no.
No, not at all,
No,
and again, if whatever decision I make, I need to make it wholeheartedly, because if I don't, then I'm almost trapped in between two worlds, so
yeah.
even if that's not the perfect decision for me, it doesn't feel 100% perfect. If I'm going to choose that, then I need to choose it completely.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and often grieve the other choice that I didn't make.
Yes.
Mm.
Do you believe that with the timelines, that you actually, when you make a choice and there's a junction, that timeline reality does actually exist in another dimensional realm, and that they split, and perhaps potentially both choices actually manifest, but on different timelines?
Even as you say that, like I can feel that in my chest, that is so true.
Yeah.
And it goes beyond anything that I have any capacity to explain. You did it beautifully.
We won't go there. I know that's a whole minefield right there.
That's beautiful, but and I think that's the thing with this journey that we're on, which is again a number of journeys all simultaneously, is that we don't have words for it. There's no, perhaps there's another language that we don't have access to, that another dialect or something that might give it words, but I often can't find the words for my experience.
I agree with you. I think the English is very deficient, our language, to explain everything. In fact, I find it much easier to express and explain things through sound or voice, like musically singing things, through frequencies. And I also do light language. That's again another way. That's a soul to soul communication that is actually beyond the English language, which is pretty amazing. So I think that we've covered some really fantastic areas today. Is there anything that you'd like to share with the listeners now that you think is really another important point or helpful at this time for people? Because, there's so many people out there just really just trying to tread water at the minute.
Yeah. Yes, it's true. I think the main thing for us, all of us collectively, is around love and compassion. And again, if our intention is to be as loving and kind and compassionate as we can be in the moment, then we really need to be drawing on everything to be able to do that. I feel like energetically and just within myself, that it's going to get tougher before it eases up. And what I mean by that is the fear factor more than anything,
not knowing what's happening.
That's right. And we don't like change. We don't like not knowing, because as we mentioned before, when something's not okay, we like to know why. So as best as we can, letting go of some of that, being really kind and compassionate to yourself, but also to other people. We're all doing our best.
Yes.
Even if it doesn't look nice, it's often that person's best. And whilst we need to have boundaries, obviously, so that we can protect ourselves to a degree, please just understand that this is, none of us have been through this in this lifetime. So we're all stepping through this together, and it's a bit clunky at times, but we just need to have love and compassion and kindness, I think.
Because we don't know another person's experiences, what they've been through in life. We haven't walked their shoes.
That's right.
And so you never can really fully understand a space of another person and why they make the decisions that they make. It's very interesting. So I think that kindness and that compassion, I agree with you. I think it's really, really crucial at the minute, both for self and for others. I made a decision last week. I said, well, what can I do for myself next week that's going to really add to my life? And I think, that's a great, preface for every week, saying, something new and something different. What can I do to really add to my life this week? Something I haven't done before. And this week I've started a little bit of strength training with the ladies. So that's really motivated and inspired me and made me feel good, because you sort of feel like, that there's a certain stagnancy when you do the same thing over and over every week. And this is something new that I can do for myself that's really empowering. So I think my little 2 cents worth would be, pick something every week that's something different you haven't done for yourself before and do it. And
Yeah, I think that's great, and particularly because it's a bit like Groundhog Day, at the moment because of
Yeah.
what's happening.
Yeah, so
And
you got to reward yourself and lift yourself up
absolutely,
and find
yeah,
ways to do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Be creative.
Yeah, exactly. Really
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Well, it's so beautiful to chat with you, Naomi. I feel like we could talk for hours.
yeah. We probably could.
Yeah. And I feel that you're going to be a part of, what we're doing as well with this
Yeah.
platform. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm going to leave all your details below, to your beautiful Facebook page with all the, uplifting posts and your information. So if people want to contact you, it's all below. And I'm just going to send you lots of love and support for everything that you're doing to help people that are going through, trauma, and being, if I can support you in any other way, just let me know. And beautiful to chat.
Yeah, has been. Thanks, Medyhne. Look after yourself.
Okay. Bye.
See ya.